Welcome back, our dear viewers. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is due to fly to Egypt on Tuesday as part of the Middle East tour, seeking a new truce and an enduring end to the Israeli genocide war. The trip is Blinken's fifth to the region in nearly 4 months long war. To shed more light on the visit by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the latest developments in the Israeli war against the Gaza Strip, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Ayman Salah Murad, Professor of Public International Law and member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Doctor, the U.S. State Department stated that the Blinken is continuing its efforts to reach an agreement that guarantees the release of all remaining hostages. How do you see, first, the visit by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to the region, which is the fifth since the start of the Israeli war on the Gaza Strip?
Actually, U.S. Department of State some days ago has declared that Secretary of State Antony Blinken will travel to the Middle East region, especially Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, Israel, which marks his fifth trip to the region since October 7th, to continue diplomatic efforts to reach an agreement that tackle critical issues, namely the release of the remaining hostages, a humanitarian pause that might lead to ceasefire, the delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza, also working to prevent the spread of the conflict of the region. Besides discussing with partners the integrated, peaceful, lasting solution for Israeli and Palestinians alike. And actually yesterday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken met Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, which lasted for 2 hours. And after the meeting, all reports show that Blinken tackled these issues with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
Also, the U.S. Secretary of State is expected to come to Egypt. He will visit Israel, the West Bank, and Qatar in order to try to find a way out and exchange of hostages for the release of some Palestinian prisoners and the allowance of the humanitarian aid to enter the Gaza Strip. To what extent you are seeing a breakthrough here, and to what extent this brutal genocide against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip will continue from your point of view, Doctor?
Actually, I see a big change in U.S. stance towards the conflict in Gaza. Because at the beginning of the conflict, we have seen support from U.S. towards the operations in Gaza against Hamas. But as the struggle continues, we see that there is a change in U.S. policy because U.S. administration now is talking about humanitarian pause that might lead to ceasefire, talking about facilitating the humanitarian aids to Gaza Strip, talking about two-state solutions, talking about the future of the security arrangements between Israel and Palestine in Gaza. So we can see that they are coming to Egypt because Egypt, of course, is a key player in the region, and Egypt has very big experience in mediation between Israel and the Palestinians in the previous conflict.
Also, the truce that Blinken is trying to reach is hoping to see a proposed 6-week pause to fighting as Hamas frees the hostages in exchange for the Palestinian detainees held by Israel and more aid to enter the Gaza Strip. Are we going to witness here a real deal on the ground from your point of view, Doctor, or we are going to see some bluffs by the Israelis as before as well and continuing of their attacks against the innocent Palestinian civilians in the Gaza Strip?
As we see, the war now has been in action for 120 days. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has declared at the start of the offensive that the main goal of the war is to to release the Israeli hostages. And what we have seen that hostages have been released only at the first truce, according to agreement between the two sides. So we don't expect that the offensive only or military operations only will release the hostages, and that's what all the international community sees, and that's what have made some dramatic change between U.S. administration and Israeli administration, because you know that U.S. is getting to elections in 2024. The Democratic Party is going to elections, and there is a escalating public opinion between the Democrats, especially the younger Democrats, calling for a ceasefire because of seeing these photos and these images of the civilians injured. And then there are talks now about three-stage truce between Israel and Hamas, which has been established in Paris talks. You know, there has been Paris talks between U.S., Egypt, Qatar, and Israel. And they said there must be some stages, like the first stage releasing women and children, the second stage releasing soldiers and service men, the third stage returning the bodies of the killed in action. So there are some horizons towards a peace or a humanitarian pause. But Israel, Palestine or Hamas actually hasn't yet answered completely on this, because they want a complete ceasefire. They want a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza Strip. They want to be a part of the political process after the end of the struggle and the war.
Indeed. Blinken also stressed the necessity of a humanitarian truce that allows for the delivery of the humanitarian aid in a sustainable and increasing manner to civilians in Gaza, which means a decline in the position of the United States. Can you elaborate on that? And are we going to witness here some solution for the very alarming humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, with the medical situation very deteriorating, no humanitarian aid allowed, and also even UNRWA not working properly inside, and stop of the funding of the UNRWA by the United States and Germany. So how do you see the situation here, sir?
Actually, all reports, even the American papers themselves, are saying that there is a growing divide between within the Democratic Party over President Biden's handling of the conflict in Gaza, which is becoming a serious political problem, because you know that the Democratic or the President Biden is getting to elections in 2024, and young voters are not happy with what they see on the photos and the continuing struggle. So the American U.S. administration is trying to press on Israel to stop its offensive in Gaza, to allow more humanitarian aid into the Palestinian lands, to talk about two-state solutions, because there must be kind of solution for this. This struggle can't continue with no end. Every day this struggle or this offensive continues, will subtract and take from the let's say political the political position of the Democrats in the U.S. And all Europe also has recognized this, because you see a lot of demonstrations in a lot of European cities and European capitals calling for a ceasefire. So they are asking the international community, why don't you work towards a real ceasefire, even if the Israeli side is not helping that way, but there must be some kind of pressure on the Israelis to accept the complete and permanent ceasefire, not only humanitarian pause, because if we make a humanitarian pause for 6 weeks or 2 months, which the Palestinians do not accept. So what after the humanitarian pause? Are we saying that 2 months and then we'll continue the struggle and the war and the offensive? So we have done nothing. So we have to have, and this must be a two situation deal between the Israelis and Hamas. Every side must give the other side what makes this ceasefire possible.
Indeed. Sir, also the media said that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's meetings with the Israeli officials during his visit were very tense, in which he acknowledged the difficulty of completely eliminating a Hamas movement in the Gaza Strip, as he confirmed, and according to what the Israeli Channel 13 reported, quoting official from Israel, that Blinken said in the meeting with the Israeli War Council that the Palestinians have ambitions and must accept them. So can we see here a change in the stance, as you have kindly mentioned, of the Americans? And does this mean that Hamas now is somehow beginning to set its own conditions on the ground?
Yes, of course, there has been reports about rising tension between the U.S. administration and Israeli side, especially because Israeli talked about eradicating Hamas from Gaza, and this is theoretical. All the world, all the politicians, all the viewers say this is a theoretical demand, because you can't eradicate completely a movement or eradicate a part of the people there completely from the ground. This is theoretical. This is not practical. So they are calling for a kind of political reform. This political reform includes some kind of Palestinian Authority governance in Gaza. They are talking about the future, the two-state solution, because we have seen the struggle now has been more than 75 years. So there must be kind of political solution. Military solution is not the solution. It can't. We have seen in Afghanistan. We have seen the Americans withdraw from Afghanistan. So military solution, and Americans recognize this now, that there must be kind of political solution. Military solution will not. Eradication of Hamas is theoretical, just theoretical. All people, even the American politicians, all strategists say this is theoretical. We can't depend on that. We can't put this point at any agreement, because this is theoretical. This is not practical.
Sir, from this point, how do you see the conflict in the coming days, with the situation in the Red Sea not very calm, with the attacks by the Houthis, and of course the latest U.S. shelling for certain points in Iraq and Syria? So we are going to witness more calm situation in the coming days, or we are going to witness some spiraling violence in the region as well, with the situation in the Gaza Strip spiraling somehow out of the West Bank and Gaza?
Actually, the situation, the security situation in the region is very critical.
Yes, indeed.
You see that there are mutual strikes between the U.S. and some international forces, and in Syria, Iraq, Houthis in Yemen. You see that some kind of blockade for the Red Sea, which affects Suez Canal, and Suez Canal holds like 15 or 10% of the international trade.
Yes.
So the international community recognized the criticalness and the importance of the region, and one of the goals that has been declared by the U.S. Department and American U.S. administration before the visit of Antony Blinken is an agreement to settle down the situation and not to escalate the situation in the Red Sea and in the region, because escalation of the situation in the Red Sea is not going to anyone's benefit, because this affects the whole world. This is a very, very critical region, and actually this depends on the political will of all the partners, because we see that Egypt has always called for not escalating tensions inside the region, and that any kind of tension, even inside Gaza, will lead to escalation in the region. So actually, now partners began to realize that the military solution or escalating the conflict in the region will not be in the interest of the whole international community. And you see now that the trade now is affected. All these kind of things are affected. So we hope that partners work together, as U.S. administration declared on its side that they want not to escalate the tension in the region.
Yes, indeed, sir. Sir, also hundreds rallied on Saturday night in Tel Aviv to demand the swift action to free the hostages, as well as early election, as they denounce the inability of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's hard-right government to win their freedom. How do you see the internal situation in Israel, and to what extent that might affect the situation on the ground in the coming days, with Benjamin Netanyahu coming under pressure both in the government and also by the Israelis, as they are seeing him failing to handle the situation?
I think the biggest pressure Benjamin Netanyahu is facing is the internal Israeli scene, because as you see every day, every other day, there are a lot of demonstrations calling for the release of the hostages. And Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister, at the beginning of the offensive said that the main goal is to release the hostages. But after more than 120 days, you haven't released any hostage with any military operation. All the hostage that has been released was in the first truce, and you know that 7 days truce. And so your military operations or Prime Minister or the Israeli military operations are not achieving their goals. So why are you continuing your offensive on Gaza Strip? That is the main question for the Israeli people. And people know that a lot of people say that ending the war may be the end of the career of the Israeli war government right now. Yes. And they are calling for another kind of reform in the next government and another elections. So this is actually a dilemma, because what is Prime Minister Netanyahu is looking for is not achieved, and the Israeli people is looking for the release of the hostages. And some analysts say that if the Prime Minister succeeds to release the hostages, so now he is in a very critical and embarrassing situation. So now we have to stop the war, and if he stops the war, his political career is in danger. So this is actually a dilemma that the internal Israeli can perceive very well, and we hope that a political solution must domain in this struggle and this situation.
Yes. Finally, sir, do you believe that the upcoming presidential election in the United States would affect the course of the events in the coming days as well?
Yes, this is a very important point. As we said, that Biden is having his election in next November, 2024. There is kind of big divide among the Democrats themselves, because the liberals and the young Democrats do not support the offensive or the war in Gaza, and they are calling for the administration to intervene to end this struggle. And if this struggle is not ended before these elections, or much more before this election, so this will affect voting for the Democrats, especially that the Republicans are on the attack for the Democrats, saying that Democrats are not as good as the Republicans in administrating the political scene in the world. So the Democrats and the President Biden acknowledge this pretty well, and they know that they are losing voters, and this is pressing them to do something to stop the offensive before elections in November 2024, because this is a very, very critical point actually right now.
Indeed, Dr. Ayman Salah Murad, Professor of Public International Law and member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs. Thank you so much, sir, for your precious input and for being our guest today. Thank you so much, sir, and have a lovely day. Our dear viewers, that was our wrap-up for the current visit by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is expected to fly to Egypt today as part of his Middle East tour, seeking a new truce and an enduring end to the Israeli genocide war, which is the fifth visit since the start of the war by the Israelis against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Our dear viewers will go to a short break, and after that we'll be back to continue our segments, so stay tuned.